Hello, Cubano. All right, so here we are. What a treat. So I can see you there, Karen, Karen, Karan. Okay, Karan. And Anushka, I can see you coming from Dubai. And Christina and Nikki, Courtney, Francie, Janelle, Linda, Tom, Wessel. So we're all here. Donald is here. So as per usual, we'll take a few minutes. Let's say about 6, 7 more minutes before we begin. So we've got time to settle in. Hi there, Susan, over on YouTube, and Cubano. Francie, Anna, C, AD. Glad that you're all here. Amitofo, C. Namo Amitabha. May we all be reborn in the Pure Land. May we all come into a state, come into a situation where the conditions are suitable and convenient for our enlightenment, for our total enlightenment. So may that happen to each and every one of us. And when we say Amitofo, in the Chinese tradition, that's the meaning. May you be reborn in the Pure Land. May you find yourself in the ideal circumstances, the ideal situation for your enlightenment, for your awakening. Okay. Hey there, Jamie and Suraj. Okay, hello, spell straps. So 2 more minutes and we will get started. Oh, hi there, Wangmo Dixie over on Facebook. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to participate together sometime in India. That would be great for a pilgrimage. Okay, and we are just about filled up here in the Discord. I see David and Ricky and Keem and Jodeci and Cliff. So I was doing a little bit of pre-reading today, and we'll be wrapping up this first section, this first chapter, this first collection of um, this book, The Art of Disappearing. It's a very direct and wonderful way to wrap up, so I'm looking forward to sharing that together, going over that together. But as per usual, we will start with a few minutes, a few moments of silent contemplation. So that is that we set our intention to be here in the present, to be here fully. We put the body down. So we find a comfortable, stable position. And we turn the light around. No longer looking outside, we start to look inside. And one of the ways that we can do this is to gently bring our focus, our awareness onto the breath. Breathing in deeply and bringing our mind home to the body. And as we do that, being with whatever is there. Whether it's a pain or a difficulty or a confusion or a pleasantness, we're showing up fully to what is happening right now through our own awareness, our own direct experience. Not relying on words or phrases, not relying on the support or the help from anything outside, from anything inside either. But just to be fully aware at this moment. Breathing and being aware. When we practice meditation like this, there's no need to be shy or hold back about how much we give up, let go, and detach. Thoughts, stories, what other people say, what we experience today, our entire life up to this point, all of our past, to give it up completely, to let it go completely, to say to the past, that's none of my business. To say to the sensations in the body, the thoughts that come into our mind, good or bad, right or wrong, that is none of my business. That is not to reject anything, but to detach, to let go, to no longer be burdened by this holding on, this chasing. Just breathing and being aware. We don't need to do anything to make this happen. We couldn't. The body, the mind, it all falls away. It is all impermanent, temporary. We couldn't hold on to it. We couldn't maintain it. Sitting still, just breathing and being aware. So you are all invited to bring out your book or to bring up um, the text that we're reading together. It's also okay if you stay in a more of a meditation position and just listen and follow along that way. That's totally fine. It's up to you. So we left off last time about the people being prisoners of their past, identifying with their past, and this idea that we need to work through our past, or we need to work through all of our issues. And Ajahn Brahm said here, you can completely let go of all that, abandon it, and allow it to vanish if you have the guts to do so. So that using the perception of suffering, seeing, asking, what's the point of hanging on to this? What is the point of hanging on to and perpetuating all these things that make me suffer? Why do I keep getting involved in that? So recognizing that, choosing to disengage, choosing to take that step back and allow it to fade away. Allow your past, allow this controversy that's going on, this drama that's going on, to say, that's not my business, to step back, to disengage, and watch it disappear, just like that. And the same with our thinking. So regard thinking as the carcass of a dead dog hanging around the neck of our beautiful mind. Beautiful, bright, luminous, peaceful, happy mind, this carcass of thinking. And what is that? It's our reliance, it's our attachment to thinking. It's our belief that thinking is really going to get us somewhere, when in a real sense, it's not particularly going to get us somewhere. It's just causing us more and more stress, more and more confusion and drama. So detaching from thought, detaching from constant thinking, and ask ourselves, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I feeding and perpetuating thought to such a degree constantly? Getting involved in these big, massive narratives about myself and other people and right and wrong, and you're really like that and I'm really like this. And oh my gosh, it's a nightmare. It's a hellscape to be spending all that time doing that. And I think you'll find people who spend a lot of time, you're really like this, I'm really like this is how things really are, we got to do this, we got to do that. It's like they're walking around carrying a dead dog carcass around their neck. So you know it stinks. So take it off. Don't rely on your thinking so strongly, and don't have this kind of arrogance and this pride about, I'm thinking thoughts, I've got this idea and it's true and it's real. It's a dead dog carcass. That's it. So, recognizing that, you understand these things. You understand the unsatisfactory quality of them, your past thoughts. You know that they are none of your business, not to be involved with, not that you couldn't control them. So, you detach from them and rejection happens. Just like the dog that bites a bone looking for meat, and once it realizes that the meat's actually not there, you spit it out. And you don't go back to the same bone, you don't go back to thinking again and again and again. Rejection happens, not by force, but by wisdom. There's no meat on that bone. There's no meat on the bone of thinking, fantasizing, nonsense, judgments about other people. There's no meat on it. So why keep chewing on it? You don't. Rejection happens. You move in another direction, into the mind rather than out into the world. the automatic reaction. Moving to the next section, the fresh section of our reading today. Nibbida stops the asavas, the outflowings of the mind. And nibbida is this term of wariness, disenchantment. I think that was the word that we all kind of connected with, or seem to connect with a lot, is this disenchantment. So disenchantment, no longer being enchanted by thoughts, the past, difficulties, pains, desires. This disenchantment arises. This recognition that the bone doesn't have any meat on it arises, and we reject the bone. We don't keep chewing on it. This disenchantment arises. Disenchantment stops the asavas, the outflowings of the mind. You know what it's like. You're sitting there in meditation doing nothing, and suddenly thinking starts flowing out about what you're going to do after the retreat or after your meditation, about your duties, or about the answer to some problem you're trying to solve. The mind flows out from its center, and it's this flowing out that's called in asava. Why does it flow out? It flows out because it's interested in the world. It hasn't seen the suffering of the world. It hasn't understood it. So it's this kind of ignorance when we're practicing meditation or when we're in a retreat where the mind starts going out because it hasn't recognized yet that there's no meat on that bone. There's no meat on the bone of attachment, involvement. There's no satisfaction to be found in entangling with the senses, with thoughts, with desires, with aversions. It's none of our business. So when you haven't understood the world outside, you think it's your business. You think it's fun, that you're going to get something from your studies or from arranging all these things of the world. But when you disengage, all that fades away, and the asavas, the outflowings, stop. The sense that the world is important disappears because you understand it's none of your business. When the world outside goes, past and future and thinking also disappear, and then your meditation takes off. And this isn't a kind of general sense of, okay, there's no past, there's no future, there's no outside world. These things disappear. These things dissolve. They are no longer there. They no longer exist. And then your meditation takes off. When you disengage from the outside, meditation just happens. It's important to realize that you don't make it happen. I don't like it when people teach others to use willpower to watch the breath. It's better to use wisdom power. Through wisdom, you see that the world is suffering, and then you disengage. You get nibbida. You get this disenchantment, this disinterest with worldly things. You can't do anything else. It's an automatic reaction. So understanding suffering and disengaging are the base that you always come back to. Understanding suffering, looking deeply at our suffering, recognizing suffering, being with suffering. So understanding suffering and disengaging are the base that you always come back to. In our group, that's oftentimes this refresh, this restart, begin again. And the more you disengage, the easier it is to meditate. When I say easier, it's just that meditation happens. That's all. A lot of people fall into this trap of, I am becoming a better meditator. My meditation is getting better. I'm really getting it. I'm having this development. No, it's just that meditation happens. That's all. As you disengage from the world, you go inside and you're in the present moment. You may be watching the breath, but as you come to understand it, you disengage even from the breath. You don't try to control the breath or make it different. The breath comes in and goes out all by itself. And you realize the breath is none of your business. All this self-consciousness, this self-focus that can promote so much anxiety and depression and fear and paranoia, it's none of your business. It's none of my business. Those sounds, those experiences, those thoughts, those sensations, those phenomena. It's not in my control. You don't even try to control the breath or make it different. The breath comes in and goes out all by itself. And you realize the breath is none of your business. You get nibbida to it. You're now disenchanted from the breath. You're no longer involved in self-fixation as it relates to the breath. The breath is just happening. You get disenchantment towards the breath too, and it fades away. According to the Buddha, watching the breath is part of body contemplation. So when you see that the breath has nothing to do with you and you disengage from it, it's really the remnants of the physical body and the five senses that fade and disappear. That's when you start to get into the deep stuff. Because the body and its five senses are gone at last. Your meditation is deep and you're having a great time. When you disengage from suffering, not trying to control the world, not trying to stay there, just letting things be, you get what you really wanted in the first place, peace and happiness. Why do people struggle with this world in their pursuit of happiness? Or do you think just going along with it is going to make you happy? That just makes you bored and dull, sometimes even depressed. Only the way of nibbida, disenchantment, disinterest, disgust with worldly life, recognizing the tediumness of it, the unsatisfactoriness of it. You're no longer enchanted by it. Only the way of disenchantment leads to true happiness of the mind. You're still and peaceful because so much has disappeared. Only now can you fully appreciate that it was all just suffering in the first place. The five senses are suffering. This world is suffering. Speech and thinking are suffering. Monasteries are suffering. Rain is suffering. Study is suffering. And whatever you're doing is suffering. unsatisfactory, not satisfying, not bringing the deep state of peace and happiness that we want in the first place. It's not satisfactory. It's not good enough. Food is suffering. Whatever you're doing is suffering. Everything is unsatisfactory. Everything is suffering. When you disengage and go inside to the place where Mara can't reach, where enchantment can't reach, where the conditioned states cannot reach, there's a beautiful freedom from suffering. This is the way into the deep meditation states called jhana. You disengage from the world. You don't engage with jhana. So a state of not engaging, a deep state of not engaging. When you disengage from thinking, from the world and the body, jhana just happens. This deep concentration state, deep absorption state. It's another automatic reaction, and it occurs when you understand that all of these things are none of your business. Okay, anyone have a question or something to share about what we've read so far?
Not in my business on there's no meat in there. So it's just
So maybe you broke up, but I think that was David, and you said that you realized that all these things going on are none of your business. Maybe you can put some there. Okay, David, not able to hear you if you're still there. I don't know. Anyone else have a question or something to share from what they got out of this reading so far?
Just wondering, Bhante, what does jhana actually mean from Pali to English? What's the actual meaning, literally?
Oh, jhana is a deep state of absorption. That's basically what it means, an absorption state, a state of deep absorption.
So when you say everything is suffering, does that mean that we're foolish to partake in it?
Yes,
Like in a way?
very foolish. Not just foolish, but very foolish. And this is how we get ourselves into all these kinds of traps and entanglements and states of ignorance and states of hellish realms and heavenly realms, because we just can't stop involving ourselves in it. But when we recognize that all of these things that we are involving ourselves in are not leading to deep states of happiness and peace, we recognize that they're unsatisfactory, and we spit out the bone of playing this game nonstop. We spit out that bone.
Thank you.
What would you say is my business?
Nothing.
Nothing.
If you can control it, then it's your business. If you cannot, then it's none of your business. So when you're driving your car and you get to a red light, that's your business, and you should try to take care of it. When you are
Yes.
sitting in meditation and you are aware of pain in your body, that's none of your business. When you are aware of thoughts that you're having, good or bad, whatever they may be, that's none of your business. Specifically in your meditation practice, you cannot control your thinking. You cannot control the state of your body in any meaningful way. So as we let go of this false impression and this misguided practice that we can control these things, which we cannot, we put down this selfishness that is perpetuating ignorance. We put down this self-stimulation that brings us closer and closer to gnawing on a bone that has no meat on it. And then our meditation is very stale. And our life, in that sense, can be very stale. There's not development, there's not growth going on. But when we can spit out the bone, when we can become disenchanted, free from the spell of our sensory experiences, free from thinking that they're permanent or that we can control them or that they somehow relate to me, my, I, then we can get this deep happiness, this deep peace.
But even if it's things are not permanent, they can be meaningful.
What's meaningful to you?
This is
Good.
I'm learning new stuff and about myself and yeah.
Good. So continue practicing, continue learning. And when you are sitting in meditation, you can say, that's not my business. To spit out the bone of applying meaning to what you are doing. Just experience what you're doing. Just practice.
Well, I think about that a lot every day, but things are not my business. It's helpful when you're dealing with people and stuff. Yep.
So when we stop looking outward for satisfaction, when we stop looking towards other people for satisfaction, when we stop looking towards outside experiences for satisfaction, we spit out this bone of being enchanted by sensory experiences, being enchanted by the body, being enchanted by pretty colors and nice smells. Sure, we may experience them, but we no longer are in this state of confusion that they are somehow going to bring us satisfaction. And we avoid a lot of problems and a lot of difficulties when we do that, because we're no longer operating under this false premise, this false idea that out there is where your suffering is, that out there is where your pleasure or your happiness or your peace are going to be. It's not out there. Whatever is out there is none of your business, for sure. And once you start to come inside, once you start to practice meditation, then you can apply that disenchantment also to the physical sensations in your body, also to the thoughts that you have, even to the breath. And then even the body can fade away. Even the breath can fade away. The past fades away. Thinking fades away. Future fades away. So why is this important? Why is this helpful? Because none of these things, the past, your body, your thoughts, your thinking, are bringing you satisfaction. And even if you do feel that one of those thoughts or one feeling in the body or some activity is bringing you satisfaction, it's impermanent. It is unsatisfactory. It's suffering. That experience is not separate from any other experience, and it's not permanent. So whatever meaningfulness you apply to it is the meaningfulness of impermanence, and not that event as it exists separately from anything else. So these are very deep teachings, and they are talking about the steps of renunciation. They are talking about the steps of walking towards great peace, great happiness, great joy. We do that first by reeling in the mind, bringing the mind home to the body. That's not my business. That's not my business. That's not my business. Why is it not my business? Because I can't control it. I can't depend on it. And if I do depend on it, it's not going to work out. It hasn't up until now. And I've certainly been trying. We reel that energy, we reel the mind in, we bring the mind home to the body. And then we begin the process of detaching from, recognizing that also the body is not going to bring us lasting peace, happiness, joy, satisfaction. The body is suffering. The body is impermanent. The body is unsatisfactory. So are our thoughts. So is our past. It's not going to work. So like a dog chewing on a bare bone that has no meat on it, we spit it out. We develop this sense. This sense arises, not that we develop it, but this sense arises from our wisdom about the situation, our insight into the truth of the situation, the truth of suffering, that this bone does not have meat on it, and that we cannot control it. So we become disenchanted. Sure, we experience things, but we no longer fall into the spell of them. We no longer fall into these fugue states of enchantment by sensory experiences, because we know that there is no meat on that bone. This is a process. This is very subtle states of mind and the workings of mind that we work with. And that's why it's consistency over intensity, because over time we're bringing this into our life more and more and more deeply, becoming more and more and more disenchanted. Yeah, we're going to go pick up that bone again. And then we become disenchanted again. It develops over time. And then detachment arises. With that detachment, those things disappear, they fall away. The thoughts, the thinking, the people, the past, the present, the situation, the quote unquote present, the situation we think we're in, falls away, vanishes, dissolves. And a great stillness arises. And as for that stillness, that is the final section of this chapter, this section. So shall we continue? Anyone else have something to say?
I have a question because I don't know if I understand correctly. Is it preferred not to seek any meaning in life?
That's not spoken of here, Keem.
Okay.
What do you really want? And what really brings us meaning? What are meaningful activities? Meaningful activities are activities that lead us to peace and happiness. This is the process of leading us to peace and happiness. This is exactly meaningful activity. When you disengage from suffering, not trying to control the world, not trying to stay there, you can't stay there, just letting things be, you get what you really wanted in the first place: peace and happiness. Why do people struggle with this world in their pursuit of happiness? Or do you think just going along with it is going to make you happy? That just makes you bored and dull, sometimes even depressed. Only the way of nibbida, only the way of becoming disenchanted by sensory experiences, by things, leads to true happiness of the mind. You're still and peaceful because so much has disappeared. How about that, Keem?
Thank you. It certainly resonated, and I think I just need more time to realize what's that about.
In the meantime, do your best to bring peace and happiness into your life and to bring peace and happiness into the lives of others. But Ajahn Brahm is saying here only the way of nibbida, disenchantment, disinterest with sensory experiences, detachment from the body, detachment from the mind, not holding on to it, leads to true happiness of the mind, the deeper states of happiness of the mind that we're working for here. You become still and peaceful because so much has disappeared. So meaningfulness in terms of achieving, experiencing peace and happiness by things disappearing rather than holding on to them. And things disappearing is the nature of the world. It's the nature of the body. It's the nature of the mind. So when we work with that nature, rather than trying to finagle it or get something out of it, this is when true happiness of the mind arises. So let's move on to stillness. I have been trying to keep this body of mine fit and healthy for a long time. I've been washing it, caring for it, and resting it. But when I meditate, I say I know the true peace of mind where the whole world outside vanishes and you are absolutely still. Sorry, I missed something there. But when I meditate, okay, I'll start again. I've been trying to keep this body of mine fit and healthy for a long time. I've been washing it, caring for it, and resting it. But when I meditate, I say, none of my business. I just sit there and disengage completely. Even though I am the head monk of the monastery, I disengage from my monastery and from everything else. When I go inside my cave, I've got nothing to do. I'm not my body, my past, or my future. I just sit there and allow everything to fade, vanish, and go. Disengaging like that, experiencing disenchantment, leads to viraga. Viraga, detachment. Viraga in turn leads to upasama, stillness, calm, peace. So disengaging like that in meditation, experiencing this disenchantment with things, leads to viraga, leads to detachment, no longer being attached. Detachment in turn leads to stillness, calm, and peace. It's a beautiful thing to know the true peace of mind, where the whole world outside vanishes and you're absolutely still. The mind is motionless and cannot connect with the body or with past and future. It's motionless in time and motionless in space, and that stillness allows everything to fade away and disappear. Things only exist when there is some movement or agitation, because the senses only know things when they move. For the senses to know anything, they need comparison, they need contrast. When they're still, the unity makes things fade. The whole world outside fades. The monastery fades. Sounds fade. Memories fade. Past and future and thinking fade, and the body disappears. When the body disappears and you experience stillness deep inside, it is a jhana state, a state of deep absorption. In that jhana state, you are disengaged from the world outside. The five senses have vanished. Sometimes this is called being aloof from the world of the five senses. In fact, it's more than aloofness. It is complete disengagement, the complete ending of that world. Now you understand the meaning of vanishing, of things not being there anymore. Now you know what renunciation truly is. You renounce the world, and it's so much fun, so peaceful. I say renouncing, but really you've done nothing. Disengagement has occurred through understanding the world, because the natural consequence of understanding is nibbida. The natural consequence of understanding suffering, of understanding the world, is disenchantment, no longer being enchanted by the world. Things fade away and you get a beautiful peace, the stillness of the mind. Once you start to taste the stillness in the mind, it's terribly addictive. It's meant to be. It's a good thing because the addiction of the mind to stillness is what's going to drive you deeper towards nibbana, deeper towards enlightenment, deeper towards the ending of suffering. The Buddha actually said that attachment to deep meditation can lead only to the stages of enlightenment. You don't have to be concerned or worried about the addiction to letting go. This is the pleasure, joy, and path of monastics, of monks. It is their freedom. It is an addiction that leads to more and more fading away and letting go. Disenchantment increases, and it pushes you away from the world. This is what it is to be a true monastic, a bhikkhu or bhikkhuni, a Buddhist monk. Now you know why we follow this Buddhist path. You know how there can be these amazing people who walk this path, who disengage from the world and allow it to fade away. They spend hour after hour happily by themselves, their selves actually disappearing. They go deeper and deeper inward, not because they move themselves inward, but because they see that the suffering surrounding them is none of their business. They disengage, and things just fade and fade and fade away. Understanding is the key. To meditate, you don't need to fix your mind on the breath, to deliberately let go of the past and the future, or to silence the thinking mind. Just contemplate suffering. Just contemplate dissatisfaction. Just contemplate unsatisfactoriness. And understand it right now, through whatever you are experiencing. Through that understanding, you will find that the world disappears. The world in which you used to play will fade in importance. You won't visit that playground anymore. The playground of the senses, of the past and future, of sex and dreams, will fade away. It happens not because you make it happen, but because this is the natural reaction of the mind when it sees suffering. As all this fades away, meditation takes its place. You don't become a meditator. Meditation just happens. It's a path, a route, and these are signposts on the journey, landmarks on the road to complete emptiness and the ending of suffering. It's what happens when you disengage and let go. The Buddha said suffering is to be fully understood. Whenever you experience any difficulties, problems, disappointments, or any mental or physical pain, please do not reject it. Understand it. Don't just leave it alone. Contemplate it and understand it so well that it fades, and you realize it's none of your business. When it fades away, your engagement with the world outside will be broken, and you'll start to engage with the inner world. You go in the opposite direction, not out into the world, but into the mind. Eventually, you also let go of the mind, experiencing the complete ending of suffering and enlightenment. And then you'll be another enlightened being. What a wonderful thing that would be. So we can take a moment to stretch our leg if we need to. Make sure that there's no built up pain or anything. Okay, so we can find our meditation position. We'll sit together for a few minutes. practicing with the contemplation of suffering. So just giving our attention to any difficulty or suffering that comes up and looking at it very closely and deeply. And really letting these teachings of Ajahn Brahm sink in. Let these seeds be planted deep. You can feel the rain of our awareness, the rain of our disenchantment with things. You can feel this sense of detachment that is just breathing and being aware, not involved with anything. Just sitting, just breathing, just being aware. So we'll finish today with a chanting of the Heart Sutra. You're welcome to just listen, or you can chant along if you have the paper in front of you. And you may find that there are some parallels. There are some similar teachings in the Heart Sutra with Ajahn Brahm's teachings here on the art of disappearing. You may find that there are some connection points here. So just listening deeply and seeing what connects. We'll do a chanting of the Heart Sutra together. We can bring our hands together, expression of sincerity and presentness to this moment as we chant the Heart Sutra. Maha Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra. When the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara was coursing in the deeper Prajna Paramita, she realized that all the five skandhas are empty, thereby transcending all sufferings. O Shariputra, form is not other than emptiness, and emptiness not other than form. Form is precisely emptiness, and emptiness precisely form. So also are sensation, perception, volition, and consciousness. Shariputra, this form of the emptiness of all dharmas is non-arising, non-perishing, non-impure, non-pure, non-increasing, and non-decreasing. Therefore, in emptiness there is no form and no sensation, perception, volition, or consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, or mind. No sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, or thought. There is no realm of the eye, all the way up to no realm of consciousness. There is no ignorance, and also no ending of ignorance, through to no aging and death, and no ending of aging and death. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. There is no wisdom and also no attainment. With nothing to attain, bodhisattvas relying on prajna, paramita have no obstructions in their minds. Having no obstructions, there is no fear, and departing far from confusion and delusion, they reach ultimate nirvana. All Buddhas of the past, present, and future, relying on prajna, paramita, attain supreme Buddhahood. Therefore, the prajna paramita is the great mantra of power, the great mantra of wisdom, the supreme mantra and the unequaled mantra which is able to transcend all sufferings. It is real and not false. Therefore, he uttered the mantra of prajna paramita by saying, Gate, gate, para, gate, para, somgate, bodhi, svaha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, dear friends, thank you all for joining. We have made it through the first chapter of Ajahn Brahm's book, The Art of Disappearing. I hope that you're all well on your way to disappearing, and let's all disappear at this moment. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all who joined and enjoyed on YouTube. Grateful to have you joining and participating. Chesh, Susan, Mindy, Green Sage, Chad, Brianna, Cubano. Thank you all for being here. Bye-bye. Mindy and Brandon. Bye-bye.